women. Not too long ago, I covered what I thought happened to William's fastballs, and for some reason, tons of you sickos wanted to know what happens to a woman when they're tossed in a spring-lock death trap. And you're in good company because I also really want to know, so let's find out. First and foremost, your melons are gone. I don't know what you expected. Unlike the which is located in a part of the suit that isn't focused on too much in any official media, the chest, or melons, are located in arguably the worst spot possible. Every single time we see this man get spring trapped, his face, feet, and upper torso always get the brunt of the damage. There is more than enough proof on how brutal this can be to one's jugs. A good example of this is William Afton from the Silver Eyes. Last time I took a look at this specific page, I didn't notice just how brutal it is. The longer you stare at this version of William, the more oddities start to pop out at you. Can't believe it took me this long, but William doesn't have nipples. And unless it's canon that he has athelia, or I just have even worse vision than I thought I did, this would imply that all of this pinkness is scar tissue. It's smooth, it's kind of patchy in some areas, and if you look at the hands, it's also symmetrical, even though the shading of the face itself isn't. I'm totally open to accepting that maybe this is just how the artist decided to shade and color his skin. But where the f are his nipples? And why is he pink? It's important to keep in mind that the suits in the novels are literally built different. You can move around in them more, they have at least some safety precautions, and just overall being less likely to lock if you're doing something movement intensive. At the lower sections of his body, near this questionably large bulge, is where you can see a much darker version of the pink flesh we looked at earlier, indicating that there is some form of difference between the two types of flesh, because directly above it we see a much darker version of William's normal flesh. And I mean, if it wasn't obvious already, just look at that hideous line William has going on. I can see why he loves the suit so much. If I could just hide such a hideous scar by becoming a furry, hell, I'd feel invincible too. Not even mentioning the additional red scarring on top, which I believe are hypertrophic scars. Needless to say, if this really is all scar tissue, then any coconuts you may have, from bra snapping to spine cracking, would get sliced up in an instant. Not even cutting boards are safe from this. William is not a fit man. He's not particularly muscular or fat, he's just kind of slender. And if he still got cut up this badly, then I'm sure you will too. There's also a decent chance that the ovaries, or at least the fallopian tubes, get damaged during the failure due to how much damage is done to the lower torso, if the scars are anything to go off of. Regardless, that's only one of the springlock failures. The movie and games may have a more wholesome outcome for your twin mountains. We'll start with the movie, since it's arguably the clearest depiction of a springlock failure we've seen so far, which admittedly isn't saying much. The most we get out of the springlock failure in the movie is the metal grips in the sides of the lower torso stabbing into William's flesh. We're not really explicitly shown all too much, and most of William's pain seems to be focused on his lower body, at least going off of where he's grabbing while writhing in pain. And yes, he's hyperventilating due to, going into shock and all, but he doesn't seem to be having any difficulty breathing. If he has enough time to say, "I always come back," before completing his fursuit, then I'm pretty sure his chest is fine. Finally, we're back with the game Springlock, and for a while I was struggling to find very many details related to this question. I mean, yeah, the 8-bit Springlock has William fucking T-posing while exploding like a furry-shaped ketchup bottle, but there's no actual fine details to tell what's happening. However, the aftermath of this little incident is much more telling. Here I have Springtrap from Help Wanted 1, and while I can very clearly tell you that your melons are in danger, I can also say that I have no clue what these random chunks of meat are. I want to say that some of this meat is from William's lungs, but it could theoretically be anything located in the chest. The mystery meat doesn't really matter for this video. What does matter are these claws. Sadly, there's no official 3D model of pre-Springlock William in the Spring Bonnie suit I can look at, but if my suspicions are correct, then these claws here would stab back into your sides, torso, and potentially your chest, which of course would cause insane damage to any melons you may have, depending on what angle they go in at. This poses the much weirder question of where his bones go during the Springlock failure, because while the Springlocks are very powerful, I just don't see them removing an entire skeleton. One more thing I started to wonder about was how different every Springlock seems to be. The game's spring locks seem to absolutely destroy your limbs and upper torso, but doesn't seem to focus much on the gut or lower torso. The books seem to be mostly the same, but it doesn't seem like any part of William was given mercy. Then again, he did survive the spring lock, so it's hard to tell. And the movie's spring lock seems to only target your gut. I know Willy Boy's being beat up pretty badly right now, or at least I think he is, but the only thing he seems to care about in this scene is his lunch that's not seeming to agree with him right now, his helmet, and his catchphrase. And also, yes, I'm aware of Into the Pit spring lock audio. But I'm sorry to say that I can't really hear if his upper or lower torso is taking damage, so I won't bother dissecting it. Also, I'm well aware that Springtrap recently got added to DVD with the slick new model, and nothing survives here. I don't know what you expected. In short, if you don't have money for breast reduction, I think I might know an alternative. Finally, I want fan art of me being springlocked. I don't care how gory you make it, I want to see it now. Subscribe, follow, join, get out of my sight.